Maya Richardson. Hartwell inherited $5 billion after her dad, a secret trillionaire who mopped floors for 35 years, died of pancreatic cancer, and left his pregnant daughter a fortune that sent her husband's mistress screaming in a parking garage. You left a billionaire? What have we done? But 11 years after her husband divorced his pregnant wife, 24 hours after her dad died to marry his mistress, 11 years after Maya opened the will and watched the same man who abandoned her try to steal her baby for billions, something happened that nobody predicted. The husband who divorced her, the father who abandoned their daughter, the man whose mistress whispered, "Finally," when her dad's heart monitor flatlined, collapsed at their daughter's 14th birthday party. Stage 4. Pancreatic cancer. The same disease that killed Maya's dad. 6 months to live without a $2 million treatment he couldn't afford. But what shattered Maya into pieces wasn't a dying ex-husband begging for mercy. It was her 14-year-old daughter standing in her kitchen saying, "Mama, Grandpa chose love over money. That's what you always told me. Isn't this the same thing?" But what made this impossible wasn't just the money. It was Maya's boyfriend, the good man who'd never betrayed her, standing behind their daughter saying, "If you save the man who destroyed you, I can't stay, because it means you'll never be free of him." So the billionaire who inherited $5 billion from a secret trillionaire dad who protected her from the grave, the woman whose husband left her pregnant and grieving to marry his mistress, now had to choose. Save the man who once left his mistress screaming when she discovered he'd divorced a billionaire, or protect the future she'd spent 11 years building from the ashes he left behind. But here's the part that will leave you breathless. Maya's dad predicted this moment, left a sealed letter with his attorney titled, "When Mercy Costs Everything," and what that letter revealed about her. Father's past, a secret he carried for 35 years, didn't just change Maya's decision. It changed everything she thought she knew about the man who mopped floors so she could have dance lessons. So the question isn't just what happens when a billionaire's ex-husband is dying and she holds the checkbook. It's this. What does a mother do when saving the man who destroyed her is the only way to save her daughter's heart? What secret did a trillionaire janitor carry to his grave that would reach back from death to guide his daughter through the hardest choice of her life? And what happens when the mistress who once screamed, "You left a billionaire," resurfaces with something nobody expected, something that proves Maya's dad was right about one final thing? The birthday party had been perfect until the moment it wasn't. String lights hung from the oak trees in Maya's backyard like little stars that had come down just for Naomi. 20 teenagers laughed and danced and took selfies while chocolate cake, the kind with the exact frosting to cake ratio that Naomi spent 2 weeks debating, sat on a table covered in yellow roses. Yellow, her grandfather's favorite, the grandfather she never met but loved like he was standing right beside her. Marcus arrived right on time, carrying a gift-wrapped box and wearing that careful smile he always wore at these gatherings. 3 years of earning his way back into his daughter's life. 3 years of showing up to every school play, every parent-teacher conference, every Sunday afternoon visit, and he still walked into Maya's house like a man who knew the door could close on him at any second. Because it could. Maya watched him from the kitchen window, her hands around a lemonade pitcher, that old familiar knot tightening in her chest. Gratitude that Naomi was smiling, relief that Marcus hadn't missed another moment, and underneath it all, quiet as a heartbeat, the voice that never fully went silent. He gets to be here now, after everything. After the divorce papers signed while your father's body was still warm, after Vanessa, after the custody battle, he just gets to walk in and be daddy. David came up behind her, his arms wrapping around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder. David Chen, pediatric surgeon, volunteer at free clinics on weekends, the man who had spent 8 months proving to Maya that not every man who said "I love you" was setting a trap. "You okay?" he whispered. "Getting there," she said, and she meant it. For the first time in 11 years, Maya was getting there. Outside, Marcus was teaching a group of boys a card trick, his hands moving fast, his voice animated, and Naomi was watching him with something that made Maya grip the counter. Pure, uncomplicated love. The kind that doesn't keep score. The kind Maya's father used to show her every single night when he tucked her in and said, "You are brilliant. You are worthy. You are loved beyond measure." "Mama," Naomi called through the window. "Come see. Marcus is doing Grandpa James's card trick." Maya's breath hitched. Marcus had never met her father. But over 3 years of careful supervised, then unsupervised visits, Marcus had asked Maya about the man whose billions he once tried to steal. What was he like? What did he care about? What would he think of me now? And Maya had answered honestly, piece by piece, giving Marcus fragments of a man whose legacy deserved more than silence. She walked outside with David, the autumn air biting her arms, and watched Marcus pull the ace of hearts from behind Naomi's ear with a flourish that made the teenagers cheer. "Your grandpa used to do this trick for kids at the elementary school," Marcus said, looking at Naomi with eyes that were wet. "Your mama told me he'd find the kid having the worst day and make them smile. That was his superpower." Naomi beamed so bright it hurt to look at. "Teach me." "Absolutely. Next visit I'll—" And then his hand stopped, mid-air. His face went white so fast it looked like someone had reached inside him and turned off the lights. His fingers opened, the card fluttered to the grass, and Marcus went down. Hard, fast, like a building that had been standing on nothing. Naomi screamed. Teenagers scattered. Parents rushed forward, and Maya dropped to her knees beside the man who had once destroyed her, checking his pulse, checking his breathing, her hands shaking because this was Marcus, this was her daughter's father, this was happening on yellow roses and birthday cake and string lights that suddenly looked like a hospital ward. David was already on the phone with 911, his surgeon's voice calm and precise, while his free hand gripped Maya's shoulder. And Naomi, 14 years old, brave like her grandfather, terrified like the child she still was, pushed through the crowd screaming the word that split Maya's heart clean open. "Daddy, Daddy, wake up." Not Marcus. Daddy. When had that changed? The bite. Ambulance came in 7 minutes. Felt like 7 years. They loaded Marcus onto a stretcher, stuck needles in his arms, pressed monitors to his chest that beeped in rhythms Maya knew too well. She'd heard those same beeps slowing down in her father's hospital room 11 years ago. She'd memorized the sound of a life running out of time. David rode with the ambulance because he was a doctor and could translate the medical language into words Maya would understand later. Words she wasn't ready for. Words that would change everything. Maya stayed behind, held her sobbing daughter, watched the ambulance pull away with lights flashing and sirens screaming and birthday cake melting in the October sun. Harold arrived within the hour, sent the guests home, cleaned up the yard, put away the presents Naomi never opened, and when the house was quiet and Naomi had cried herself to sleep upstairs, clutching the worn photograph Marcus always carried of her as a 3-day-old baby, Harold sat across from Maya at the kitchen table and said the words she already knew were coming. David called from the hospital. They found a mass, pancreatic cancer, stage 4. It spread to his liver. Maya didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. Without treatment, 4 to 6 months. With standard chemo, maybe a year. But there's an experimental trial at Johns Hopkins, immunotherapy combined with targeted radiation. Early results are promising, could put him in remission. How much? $2 million, not covered by insurance. Maya laughed, not because it was funny, because the universe had looked at the woman who inherited $5 billion from a secret trillionaire dad and decided to test her one final time with the exact same cancer, the exact same impossible choice, and a price tag that meant nothing to her bank account, but everything to her soul. "Harold," she whispered, "my father died of this, in a hospital bed, while Marcus asked him about life insurance money. And now Marcus is in that same bed, with that same disease, and I'm the one with the money." Harold reached across the table and placed his hand over hers. "Your father prepared for this, Maya. There's a letter, sealed, titled, 'When Mercy Costs Everything.' He told me to give it to you only if the day came when someone who hurt you needed something only you could give." Maya stared at him, even from the grave, even 11 years later. Her daddy was still protecting her, still guiding her, still one step ahead of every storm. "Not tonight," she said. "Tonight I just need to breathe." But breathing was exactly what she couldn't do, because upstairs her daughter was sleeping with tear-stained cheeks and a photograph of the father who might be dead by spring. And somewhere, in a hospital across town, the man who once divorced his pregnant wife to marry his mistress was lying in a bed that smelled like disinfectant and death, praying that the woman he destroyed would save his life. 3 days passed. 3 days of fog and hospital coffee and Naomi staring out car windows saying nothing. 3 days of David sleeping in the guest room. 3 days of Harold calling every morning saying the same thing. The letter's here whenever you're ready. On the fourth morning, Naomi broke her silence. Maya was standing at the kitchen counter when her daughter came downstairs, 14 years old, her grandfather's sharp eyes, and something new in her expression that Maya had never seen before. Certainty. "Mama, I know what Daddy did to you. I know he left when you were pregnant. I know about Vanessa. I know about the custody fight. I read every letter he wrote me. I know everything." Naomi's eyes were filling, but her voice held steady. "And I know Grandpa James was a secret trillionaire who mopped floors because he believed character matters more than cash. You told me that story 1,000 times. You told me he walked away from billions because he chose love." She wiped her eyes. "Mama, Grandpa chose love over money. That's what you always told me. Isn't this the same thing?" The kitchen went silent. "It's not that simple, Naomi." "Why not?" "Because your grandfather was saving the woman he loved. Marcus is the man who destroyed me. But he's also my daddy, and he's dying, and you have the money, and Grandpa James would have paid. Not because Daddy deserves it, because Grandpa believed mercy was more important than being right." Maya couldn't speak, because her daughter had just channeled James Richardson Hartwell III with such precision it felt like her father was standing in that kitchen wearing his janitor's uniform, saying the words he always said. "You are never powerless. I made sure of that." Naomi kissed her mother's cheek and walked upstairs, leaving Maya alone with a truth she couldn't outrun. An hour later, she called Harold. "Bring the letter." Harold set the envelope on the table like it was made of glass. Her father's. Handwriting on the front, shaky from the cancer that was killing him when he wrote it. "When mercy costs everything." "He wrote this 3 weeks before he died," Harold said. "Same week he recorded Marcus asking about life insurance. He told me, 'Harold, someday my baby girl is going to have the power to save someone who hurt her, and she's going to need to know something about me that I never told her, something that'll make the choice clear.'" Maya opened it alone, closed the study door, unfolded the letter. "My darling Maya, if you're reading this, someone who hurt you needs something only you can give, and you're struggling. I know you are because you have my stubborn heart and your mama's tender soul, and those two things are at war inside you right now. But before you decide, I need to tell you something I carried for 35 years. When I left the Hartwell family, my father didn't just disown me. He destroyed me, froze every account, called every contact. Your mama was pregnant with you. We had nothing. No heat, no money, no hope. Your mama got sick during the pregnancy, complications. She needed hospital care we couldn't afford. I was 28 years old, sitting in a waiting room while the woman I loved was fighting for her life and yours. And I was praying to a God I wasn't sure was listening. A man sat down next to me, a janitor, still in his work uniform. Name tag said Earl. He didn't know me, didn't know I was a Hartwell. He just saw a scared young man crying. He asked what was wrong. I told him everything. And this stranger, this janitor making $8 an hour, reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. $600, his entire savings. He said, "Mercy isn't about what people deserve. It's about what you can live with, and I can't live watching a father lose his family when I had the power to help." He paid our rent for 6 months, went to his church, his neighbors, his co-workers. A janitor organized a community of janitors and cafeteria workers and bus drivers to save a stranger's family. Your mama survived. You were born. Earl held you in his arms and cried and said, "This is what mercy looks like. It looks like a baby who almost didn't make it." Earl died 2 years later. Heart attack, working a double shift. And I sat at his funeral in a church full of people he'd saved and realized Earl was the richest man I'd ever known. That's when I became a janitor, Maya. Not because I had to, because I wanted to be Earl. I mopped floors for 35 years because a janitor saved my life, and I wanted to honor him with every day I had left. Someone saved me when I deserved nothing, baby girl. That's why you exist. So the only question that matters is this: who do you want to be when it's over? Not who they made you. Who do you want to be? With all my love, Daddy. P.S. Being merciful doesn't mean being stupid. Set your terms. Mercy from a position of strength is the most powerful thing in the world. Earl didn't give me his $600 because he was weak. He gave it because he was the strongest man in that room. Maya read it 4 times. Each time the knot in her chest loosened until she could finally breathe. Her father hadn't become a janitor because he was hiding from wealth. He'd become a janitor because a janitor saved his life. Every floor he mopped, every Christmas shift, every ramen dinner. A 35-year tribute to a man named Earl who had $600 and a heart bigger than the Hartwell fortune. She was still holding the letter when David knocked. He sat on the edge of the desk, his surgeon's hands folded, his face carrying the expression of a man who hated what he was about to say. "If you pay for Marcus's treatment, I don't think I can stay." The words landed like stones. "I love you, Maya, but you still have nightmares about what he did. You still flinch sometimes, and if you write that check, it tells me you'll never be free of him. I can't compete with a ghost. This isn't about Marcus having power over me. It's about my daughter not watching her father die when I could stop it. Or is it about proving you're the bigger person? Maya, you don't owe him anything. But I owe Naomi a mother who can look at herself in the mirror." David paced to the window, looked at birthday decorations nobody had taken down. "I'm telling you the truth about what I can live with. You save him now, and next year there's another crisis. Marcus is always back in the center of your life, and I become the man standing outside waiting." Maya walked to him, took his hands, looked into his face with 11 years of hard-won clarity. "David, I love you, and you might be right about everything. But I will never again let a man tell me who to save and who to let die. Not Marcus, not you, not anyone. I spent years letting Marcus make me small. I won't let you make me small in a different way, even with love." David's face crumbled, not with anger, with the recognition that her mercy was her power, and he was asking her to surrender it. He left that night. Quietly, no scene, just taillights fading into October cold, and Maya stood at the window but didn't chase him, didn't beg, didn't crumble. For the first time, she let a man leave and stayed standing. She drove to Mercy General at 11 p.m., found Marcus in room 414. He looked like her father had looked, small, gray, reduced to tubes and monitors and the terrible mathematics of a body shutting down. "You came," he whispered. "I came. Maya, I wasn't going to ask. I was going to let it happen. I don't deserve." "Stop. I didn't come here to talk about what you deserve." Her voice was firm, not cruel. Firm the way her father's was when he said something that mattered. "My father was saved by a stranger, a janitor named Earl who had $600 and a heart bigger than the Hartwell fortune. Earl didn't ask whether my father deserved saving. He just saw a drowning man and reached out his hand. And because Earl reached, my father lived. Because my father lived, I was born. Because I was born, Naomi exists." She leaned forward. "I'm not doing this for you. I'm not doing this because you changed. I'm not doing this because I've forgiven you, because some mornings I still haven't. I'm doing this because my daughter sleeps with your photograph under her pillow. Because my father spent 35 years paying forward a mercy he didn't earn. Because he's watching. She's watching. And I refuse to teach either of them that money matters more than a life." Marcus sobbed, broken, raw, stripped to nothing. "I'm paying for your treatment, every dollar. You will owe me nothing. You live, you fight, you show up for Naomi, and you never forget that you're alive because a dead man's mercy reached across 11 years and saved you." She walked to the door and turned back one last time. "My father's name was James Richardson Hartwell III. He was a trillionaire who twice mopped floors. And tonight, even from his grave, he just saved your life." The next morning, with her daughter beside her and her father's letter pressed against her heart, Maya wrote a check for $2 million, handed it to Harold, and said 3 words her daddy would have said. "Trust the plan." 4 months after Maya wrote that check, a cashier's check arrived at Harold's office. $200,000, no return address, just a note in handwriting Harold didn't recognize. He called Maya. "It's from Vanessa." Maya's grip tightened on the phone. Vanessa Chen, the mistress who whispered finally when her father's heart monitor flatlined. The woman who married Marcus 48 hours after he divorced his pregnant wife. the expert witness who tried to help Marcus steal Naomi for money. Maya hadn't heard that name in years, hadn't wanted to. "There's a note," Harold said. He read it. "I whispered, 'Finally,' when your father died. I've spent every day since wishing I could take that word back. I can't undo what I did, but I can help pay for the man I helped destroy. This is every dollar I've saved in 5 years working as a substance abuse counselor. It's not enough. Nothing will ever be enough. But it's everything I have." Maya was quiet for a long time. "Cash the check. Do you want to respond?" "No." And that was it. No meeting, no dramatic confrontation, no tearful reconciliation. Just a woman who'd ruined lives, sending every dollar she had to the woman whose life she'd ruined, and that woman accepting it without a word. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't look like a conversation. Sometimes it looks like a cash check and a silence that says more than language ever could. Marcus responded to the treatment. Not overnight, not easily. Months of immunotherapy that left him hollowed out and shaking, months of targeted radiation that burned through him like fire through paper. Naomi visited every Saturday, brought him books, read to him when he was too weak to hold the pages, told him about school, about her friends, about the boy in her math class who kept leaving notes in her locker. Normal things, daughter things, the things Marcus had missed for 11 years and was now clinging to like oxygen. Maya kept her distance, paid every bill, never visited. Not because she was cruel, but because she understood something most people never learn. Mercy doesn't require proximity. You can save someone's life without letting them back into yours. You can be generous without being foolish. Her father's letter had said it, mercy from a position of strength, and Maya's strength meant knowing exactly where the line was and never crossing it. 6 months after treatment began, Harold called with 2 words. He's responding. 8 months, tumor is shrinking. 10 months, remission. Marcus lived, not because he deserved it, not because karma owed him, because a woman who had every reason to let him die chose to let him live, because a dead trillionaire janitor who was saved by a stranger named Earl with $600 had taught his daughter that mercy was the only currency that never lost its value. When Marcus was strong enough to walk again, he did something nobody expected. He called Harold and asked if there was a way he could volunteer with the Richardson Hartwell Foundation. Not for money, not for access to Maya, not for public redemption. He wanted to work with absent fathers, men who'd walked away from their children and wanted to come back but didn't know how. Harold brought the request to Maya. She considered it for 3 days. "Let him," she said, "but he reports to the program director, not to me. I don't want to see him at events, I don't want him in meetings. He does the work or he leaves, no special treatment." Marcus took the job, worked harder than anyone on staff, ran support groups for men who looked at him and saw their own worst selves reflected back, and he told his story honestly, every ugly part, the divorce, the mistress, the custody grab, the greed. He didn't edit or soften or excuse. He simply said, "I did all of this, and a woman I destroyed saved my life anyway. Not because I earned it, because she was stronger than I ever was." Within a year, his program had helped over 300 fathers reconnect with their children. Within 2 years, it was the Foundation's most requested initiative. Marcus became living proof that the Foundation's mission worked, that people could change, that second chances, when earned and not demanded, could build something real. David came back on a Tuesday, 4 months after he'd walked out. No phone call first, no text, just a knock on Maya's door at 7 in the evening while she was helping Naomi with algebra. Maya opened the door and looked at him. This good man who'd asked her to choose, who'd given her an ultimatum dressed in reasonable language, who'd walked away because her mercy frightened him. "You were right," David said. No preamble, no flowers, just truth standing on her doorstep in a wrinkled coat. "Your mercy is the reason I fell in love with you, and I got scared of it. I watched you choose to save a man who destroyed you, and instead of seeing strength, I saw a threat. I was wrong." Maya leaned against the door frame. "That's a start. I'm not asking you to take me back tonight. I'm asking if you'll let me earn my way back, slowly, on your terms. Because I've spent 4 months watching from a distance, and I've seen what your choice did. Marcus is alive. Naomi has her father. You didn't lose yourself. You became more yourself, and I was too afraid to see it." Maya studied his face, looking for the trick, the angle, the hidden agenda, and found nothing but a man who'd made a mistake and was brave enough to stand in it. "Slowly," she said, "and David, if you ever give me an ultimatum again about anything, you won't get a third chance." "Understood." She didn't invite him in that night, made him wait, made him show up, made him prove that his love could survive her strength instead of being threatened by it. And over months, he did. Patiently, consistently. The way Marcus should have done 11 years ago. The way her father had loved her mother, choosing every single day, choosing. They married on Naomi's 17th birthday. Small ceremony, backyard, string lights in the oak trees. Harold officiated. Naomi was maid of honor. And on the guest list, seated in the back row, quiet and grateful, was Marcus. Not as family, not as a friend, as a witness to the miracle he almost destroyed and the woman who'd saved him from himself. 1 year later, Naomi's 18th birthday. The brownstone was full of people who mattered, David making his famous pasta in the kitchen, Naomi's friends laughing in the living room, Harold sitting in his usual chair looking older now but still sharp, still steady, still the man James Hartwell had trusted with everything, and Marcus. Standing in the backyard near the oak trees, healthy, present, alive. 4 years of remission, 4 years of showing up, 4 years of proving that the mercy Maya spent $2 million on wasn't wasted. Harold stood and cleared his throat. The room went quiet. "Naomi, your grandfather left letters for every important moment of your life. Your first day of school, your graduation, your wedding. He wrote them while he was dying, imagining the girl he'd never meet, trusting that the daughter he raised would raise someone extraordinary." Harold's voice wavered. He was right. He handed Naomi a cream-colored envelope, her grandfather's handwriting on the front. For Naomi, on her 18th birthday, from the grandpa who loved her first. Naomi opened it with trembling fingers, and she read it aloud because that's who she was. Brave like her mother, honest like her grandfather, unafraid of the truth. "My darling granddaughter, I never met you, but I built everything for you. Not the money, never the money, the family around you. Your mother's strength, your father's second chance, the people who chose love when hate was easier. That's my real fortune. That's what I spent 35 years mopping floors to protect. You come from a long line of people who were saved by mercy. I was saved by a janitor named Earl who had $600 and a heart bigger than any fortune. Your mother was saved by the truth I left her in letters I wrote with dying hands. And your father, whatever his faults, was saved by the most powerful thing in the world, a woman who had every reason to let him fall and chose to catch him instead. You are my greatest treasure, Naomi, not because of what you'll inherit, because of who you already are. You are proof that love, real love, the kind that costs everything and asks nothing in return, is the only thing in this world that lasts forever. Now go build something of your own, not with my money, with my heart. It lives in you, all my love across time. Your Grandpa James. The room was silent except for the sound of people trying not to cry and failing. Naomi looked up from the letter, looked at her mother, whose tears were falling freely, looked at David, who held Maya's hand like he'd never let go, looked at Harold, who was pressing his handkerchief to his eyes, and looked at Marcus, her father, the man who left and came back and was standing in a backyard he didn't deserve to be in, alive because of mercy he didn't deserve to receive, crying the quiet tears of a man who finally understood what he'd almost thrown away. Naomi walked to him. The room held its breath, and she hugged him, not the careful, measured hug of a girl protecting herself, the full, fierce, unguarded hug of a daughter who had decided, on her own terms, in her own time, to forgive. "Thank you for coming back, Daddy," she whispered. Marcus broke, held his daughter, and over her shoulder, through tears, he looked at Maya and mouthed 2 words. "Thank you." Maya nodded once, and in that nod was everything. 11 years of pain, 3 years of rebuilding, $2 million, a letter from a dead trillionaire, a janitor named Earl, $600, a music box, yellow roses, string lights, and a father's love so powerful it reached across death and time and betrayal and held his family together when everything tried to tear them apart. James Richardson. Hartwell III never met his granddaughter, never saw the foundation that bore his name, never watched his daughter become the woman he always knew she'd be. But he was there, in the letter, in the trust, in every floor he ever mopped, in the mercy his daughter showed a man who didn't deserve it, in the $600 a janitor gave a stranger, in the choice, made over and over and over again, to love when it cost everything and hate would have been free. He was there, and he always would be. Now before you go, I need to talk to you directly, not as a narrator. As someone who has poured everything into telling you stories like Maya's, stories about strength, mercy, second chances, and the kind of love that doesn't quit. You are the reason these stories exist. Every view, every comment, every subscriber, every single one of you who comes back and watches and shares and tells someone else about this channel. You matter to me more than you will ever know. And that's why I need to be honest with you right now. This channel is experiencing very serious technical issues that may stop us from posting the stories you love. And the thought of losing you, of losing this community we've built together, is something I cannot accept. Because you are not just viewers to me, you are family. So I need your help. Go to the comments section right now. There's a pinned comment at the very top with a video link. Watch that video, and when you get there, subscribe to our brand new channel. It's called Hope Narration. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell, all notifications, so you never miss a single story. That's where we're going. That's where Maya's spirit lives on. That's where I'll be waiting for you. If this channel has ever made you cry, made you think, made you feel something real, then don't let a technical issue be the reason we lose each other. Go to the comments, click the pinned link, subscribe to Hope Narration, turn on notifications, and I'll see you there with more stories that will break your heart and put it back together again. Because just like Grandpa James said, real treasure isn't money, it's the people who show up, and I need you to show up one more time.